Good morning, good afternoon, and good night at whatever time you may view this particular video. My name is Darshawn McAway. I'm the host of this here particular podcast, and we're going to talk about the wife dilemma. Now, this is going to be a short, brief one, but we got a 5-part series. We did 3 of them already. This is part number 4, the wife dilemma. What do I mean by the wife dilemma? A woman gets married. And then after a few years of marriage and having a couple of kids or maybe even one child, she starts to want to wander off. She starts to think, is there better out there for me? Now, is it necessarily your fault as the man? 50-50. Because everything involves the choice to do right and wrong. What do I mean by that? Well, most women and men, they look at the situation in a lustful type of way. Therefore, they act on it because she didn't have to get anybody's number. She didn't have to talk to anybody, and she didn't have to show up to wherever the meetup was. So the wife dilemma falls around this woman thinking that there's a better person out there than you. Now, there was something that you did that turned her off, and also there's something that she's doing to herself that wants to get her turned on. A lot of women have emotions that we can't necessarily understand. And I wanted to break that down in the wife dilemma. It's all a choice. It was all her decision. And just remember, when you pulled out, she asked to put it back in. So the wife dilemma with this particular scenario, you have a wife and her husband says, I don't want to be with you anymore. You're going to be the first one to leave. She takes that as a challenge to say, you know what? I'm not going to leave. I'm going to make you leave. The guy's like, just leave, right? But women, I don't want to just say women necessarily. I want to say wives. Certain wives won't leave. And for the life of me, I don't understand why. They plan these great escapes after you go to work or after you leave the house, but they just won't leave, and there's ways that women can leave in peace that I think women cause a lot of harm to themselves. Not all women, but a vast majority, because they get into these arguments. But the wife's dilemma is she has children. She wants to take the children away from the father. The father has no clue that he's about to get divorced. He has no clue that she's about to jump ship. He has no clue that she's planning this great escape. All because she wants to be with other men. Now, was that there in the beginning when she got married? Maybe not. In most cases, not necessarily, because they do go through this phase where they meet a lot of different men before they actually get to you. Even if they were a virgin, they still met a lot of different men. Doesn't mean that they necessarily had sex with them. They just met them. But in most cases, they had sex with different men and they rode around on a carousel for a while. And they picked you. So now that she's at this, I guess, hard place in her life where she wants to be with other men, she's even willing to cheat on you, knowing how good of a man that you are. She tells you how much she loves you. She gives you sex here and there. She starts to change things up on you and make you do things to be rewarded for sex. While all along, whoever she could be working with or go to the grocery store with or just seen out in public, they don't have to do any of that. They don't pay her bills. They don't give her money. They don't give her money for the transaction of them having sexual intercourse. They just get to do whatever they want to her, however they want to. And then she comes back home to you and look at you like you just this most disgusting person in the world. That is a wife's dilemma. She got herself into that place because in the beginning, she wasn't being truthful about her intentions on moving forward in life. A lot of women, in my personal experience, they want the notion of having a baby, but they don't want to have it with you. They want you to give it to them. And then once you give it to them, they want you to take responsibility to say, well, you had sex and you came inside of me, so you should be able to take care of me because I don't want to be with you. That's what a lot of women do. That's part of the wife's dilemma. They want to have children. They want to have babies, but they don't want you to stick around to enjoy the children's or to enjoy the baby. Excuse me. It's happening right now. Some woman got married. last weekend. She's about to get pregnant. And then after a couple of years, she's going to realize that, you know what, he's a good guy. He's a provider, but I just wanted him to give me a baby. I wanted the commitment. And I think unknowingly, they know that they trapped you, but I don't think they realize how much they trapped you. Because if she's unhappy for whatever her reasons are, and she wants to go get a divorce, or she asks for a separation, that's when a lot of men lose a lot of leverage. So you could be the richest man in the world. I know they tell us men to get our money up and you can have leverage. You lose leverage with any woman once you give them a baby. That's it. You're going to lose leverage. Once you give any woman a child, you have lost leverage. Now you're at the court's mercy and her mercy. So I know a lot of men tell us, hey, get your money up and do this. But a part of the wife's dilemma is once you give a woman a child, no matter how many children you give her, you have lost leverage as a man, no matter if you're a billionaire in the world, because what starts to happen is the leverage in which you obtain is starting to be tampered with financially. And once they realize, and I say they, the court system, once they realize how much money you're making, you are hit up for alimony, possibly spousal, possibly, and definitely child support. It doesn't have to be that way because the two consenting adults don't even have to go that route. But in most cases, if the wife wants to leave you because she wants to ride the cock carousel, then she's going to take you through the court system to make sure that they tell you what to do for you to be handled by them. And now you're at her mercy for 18 plus years per child. So you lose leverage. Now, it'd be smart for you to say, you know what? I don't want to get married. Therefore, she's just going to be my forever girlfriend. But the moment you give her a baby, it changes. And I think women, they know that, but I don't think they understand it to the extent of how detrimental it is for some men to know that they're going to be walking around with a target on their back for a long time. But the wife's dilemma deals with more so what she wants to do and how she wants to do it. I believe a lot of women get in their own way when they see different men. This goes to show that people are attracted to different looks, and they just want to, what they're doing is they're having sex with the person's face, but not physically or literally. They see the body, they like what the person looks like. Therefore, they want to have sex with different looking faces, different looking people that have different chemistry and different vibes. But I'm here to tell you, for all the wives out there, you're not missing out on anything. If anything, you're damaging your family, especially if you have children. But who cares, right? You just want to get off what you want to get off and then go through what you're going to go through and then go home and, have sexual relationships with your husband and kiss him when you just got done doing other things with somebody else. So there becomes this this notion of no respect after a while. And then it gets out of hand, and then they get sloppy, and then they get caught. And then once they get caught, and I'm talking about the women, once she gets caught by you, she wants to blame you for her falling in the arms of another man. When I told you earlier, she didn't have to take the text message. She didn't have to get the phone number. She didn't have to do the meetup. And she sure as hell didn't have to put it back in when it fell out. And I was thinking about this wife dilemma because what I noticed for a lot of women since the 1980s is that a lot of parents allow a lot of the young girls to live in this like delusional fantasy world of, playing with Barbies, watching the Disney cartoons, which is nothing wrong with that. But I think the mothers did them a disservice to let the girls know that you're going to have to do something as well. You're not going to be mommy and daddy's little princess to another person. You're going to be a female. You're going to be a woman who needs to contribute. But that's been lost in society a little bit. So with the wife's dilemma, she's trying to figure out, I got all these different options of men out here. Like, what do I do? And as we can see from history, even when women do decide to leave the husband, and they go mess with somebody else, they always mess with the man who's completely opposite of the husband. They mess with the man who's not a provider, who doesn't have a good job. Maybe he has 2 or 3 kids of his own, but what she was looking for was rough sex. There hasn't been a situation that I've seen when a woman leaves her current husband and she goes to somebody else. It's really just rough sex. She has good chemistry with the other person, and that's really all that there is. And it stays like that for a few years until it dwindles down. And it usually dwindles down when the children get a little bit older and they become a teenager. But in the beginning, it's all rough sex. It's all good in the hood, as they say. But for you, you're thinking, I bought this big old 5,000 square foot home, gave her whatever car she wanted, plus a minivan, plus my trucks and my tractor trailers and all this type of stuff. And you're thinking like, I don't know where I went wrong. You didn't go wrong. You just missed a couple steps when it came to her emotions. But you didn't do anything wrong. I think a lot of men think that, like, what did I do wrong? I was providing, I was paying all the bills. And you start to realize that it doesn't matter about the money. It doesn't matter about the bills. What men and women are doing, especially women, it only matters about how they feel in that current moment, what they're going through. And as a man, it's very hard to determine that when you're always away from the house and you're not around her or your children all the time, because it's kind of remotely impossible. You have to stay focused on your purpose. But women don't care about that. They can care less about your purpose. A woman will get married to you and tear down everything that you built, because it's all about her. So now that you know that, and this is a part of a woman's dilemma, therefore she turns into a wife and it becomes the wife dilemma. Now that you know that, how are you going to moving forward? How much leverage are you going to have once you get into a relationship? The leverage, guys, are always going to be children. That's the main leverage. If there's no children, no case. No face, no case. No baby, no case. So that's a part of the wife's dilemma. She wants to get with the guy who can provide, but yet she also wants the guy who can crack her back every now and then, give her a little rough sex here and there. She wants to be romantic and romanticized, but she also wants the rough side as well. Can one man be everything to one woman? Possibly. Could I tell you how to do that? Maybe in another stream. But the wife's dilemma is trying to figure out, do I stay with this man or do I go mess with many more? I'm here to tell you that stay with the man, be with your family, because you're not missing out on anything. But who am I? You're going to do what you want to do anyway. You guys are already adults. My name is Darshawn McAway. I'm the host of this here podcast. We're talking about the wife's dilemma. This is part 4 of a 5-part series. Let me know what you guys think. Meet me in the comments. And also listen to the other podcasts on this. They're about 10 to 15 minutes long. Nothing crazy. And let me know your thoughts. We got part 5 coming up, but this is part 4, the wife dilemma. See ya.